Hello and welcome to another episode of Manhood Mondays. This is episode 2, and I am excited, even though I sent you guys an email earlier today. If you registered, maybe if you registered before 2 o'clock today, and if you registered for last week, but you hadn't registered for this one, I sent you an email stating that giving you options on how we wanted to do tonight, because there was so much information and the way my schedule was last week. Then I got caught on the blind side on what was that? That's what Les Brown calls it. Got caught on the blind side on Saturday. It was the anniversary of my dad's passing, and so I didn't get any work done, and then other stuff happened. So I definitely did not want to cancel tonight, but I did not get to finish preparing all of what I wanted to prepare. And so what I wanted to do tonight, so looking at the votes, the majority of the people chose option 2. So what we're going to do, here's what option 2 is. We're going to start tonight with the anger and self-control talk, and then I'm going to finish this particular talk on this coming Friday at 6 o'clock. So I won't finish everything tonight. We're going to start it. And then we'll still have Q&A at the end, because I do believe it'll be a lot of good information for you to grasp. And then after that, on Friday, I'll give you the rest of the information. Okay? So let me, and also I missed it. Let me do something real quick on these apps so that I can see your comments. There's a way that I can pull them up on the screen. Actually, I guess I'll try to do that next time. But if I see your post, if I see your comment, I'll try to tag it so that everyone can see it. That way, when the replay happens, because the replay doesn't capture the questions in the comment section. But if I put it in the video, then when people rewatch it, they can see the question and I'm answering it. So if you make comments and questions during the middle of my talk, I probably won't see it because the screen is over here where the comments are and I'm looking at the camera. But when we get to the Q&A part, my goal is to put your comment up on the screen so that we can talk about it. But I can't guarantee, because I don't know, it'd be something new I'm trying. So, all right, let's get to it. So, when we talk about anger, there are actually 2 sides to anger that we must address, right? So first, we must address the emotional side of anger, which is actually the more difficult part to resolve. And then we must address the action side of anger, or the way we respond to anger. So tonight I want to address the action side to help you respond to anger, your anger, differently. But I do want to briefly touch on the emotional side first, right? Most men show up to adulthood with unresolved anger on the inside. If we could see the emotion of anger, because anger is an emotion. If we could see it, you can't see emotions. But if we could see it, you might think that it would look like boiling water, or maybe like an explosion at a demolition site. But I believe, if we could see anger, I think it would be green and slimy and sticky, right? That's what I think the emotion of anger looks like. I don't think it looks scary as the behavior does. And it may even have a bad smell, right? So the emotion of anger, listen to what I'm saying. The emotion of anger does not cause people to rage, although rage is what we mostly associate with anger. Right? When you think about anger, you think about rage a lot of times. Rage comes from your inability to control yourself, which is why I grouped anger and self-control together, right? When the emotion of anger is unresolved, that is what encourages people to respond to their present anger emotions more quickly and negatively than others. So we say these kind of people have a temper, or maybe sometimes we say they have a short temper. But having a temper means that because they are already full of anger, anger that has gone unresolved, when another anger producing situation happens, then the response tends to be over the top. Right? Those are the people that we say have a temper, but it's because they're already filled up with anger that's been unresolved. Right? So now, as we work towards becoming a master of self, we must examine our lives to see if there's any unresolved anger fueling the way we interact with one another. Please, please, please do not assume that you do not have unresolved anger just because you don't flip people the bird when you're in traffic. Okay? Don't assume that you don't have anger that's unresolved because you're not punching holes in walls. Right? Anger itself is just an emotion, but the way anger shows up in human behavior, it varies widely. Okay, when one person is angry, it looks one way, and another person it looks another way. So don't just automatically assume, well, I don't have unresolved anger, because I don't be breaking stuff, I don't be tearing stuff up. Let me give you this example. I'm gonna use myself for this example. So people know me, or people who know me know that I'm a pretty laid back guy. All right, I'm pretty. I don't get upset about much. I am quick to forgive. And most people say that my patience is the thing that they admire the most, right? These are qualities that I'm glad I have. However, what most people do not realize is that up until recently, when I got angry, I became like the little child who grew up in Seville Apartments on the north side of Houston. Yeah. The thing about it, see, I've never been the aggressive kind of person. So my anger doesn't show up in that way at first, right? First, here's what I would do. So first I would get quiet, right? And then I may talk under my breath, mumble stuff. I would curse you out in my head, right? Now, when I'm away from you, I'm having a conversation with myself about how you wronged me, which that only makes my anger worse. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but I was tricking myself into thinking that I was handling my anger by talking about it and processing it. But really, the anger was handling me. So then once I had the opportunity to finally say how I feel to you, then it came out. This is how I said it earlier. It would come out like vomit coming from a demon tied to a bed with a priest throwing holy water on me. That's how the anger came out. There was no physical violence, but my verbal assault, and I didn't use curse words. That was just in my head. But have a way of talking to make you feel small. But I was being childish, right? Because I value relationships and because I value love, I knew I had to work on how I responded to my anger, and also to recognize that my childish response was an indication for me that something somewhere was unresolved. Because I'm committed to being a better me, and because I did not want my wife to have to pay for my stuff, I decided to work on my response to anger, even if resolving whatever needs to be resolved isn't resolved yet. Right? Did that make sense? I decided to work on my anger, my response to anger, because I didn't want to hurt my wife. I decided to work on my response, even though whatever needs to be resolved ain't been resolved yet. That's a choice that I made. And that's important that I'm highlighting that, because how you respond to anger, whether you believe it or not, it is a choice. Some of it is learned. Some of it is just, picked up in society, but it is a choice. Right now, I shared this insight about me so that you can see that unresolved anger does not always look like destroying property or fist fighting. But I also shared it. As a segue into what I want to talk about tonight, which is about your response to anger. Okay. Now, I will talk about the unresolved anger part another time, because it is connected to the emotional maturity that we talked about last week. Right. And as a matter of fact, speaking of emotional maturity, I remembered after the talk last week, I need to add something to the talk from last week, which I will do whenever we talk about the unresolved anger. Okay. But we need to talk about forgiveness. That's very, very important. You will not experience emotional wholeness without forgiveness. That's just a reality of life. It's not going to happen. Okay. All right. So let's talk about responding to anger. Listen to this. Don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. Right? That's a scripture from the Bible in Ephesians. Now, this clearly communicates that feeling angry is not wrong, because in the passage, anger and sin, or anger and being wrong, they're separated. But what this text is saying is that when you feel anger, be careful of how you respond to how you feel. And then it says, don't let the sun go down on your anger, or else you give the enemy entryway into your mind and relationships. Simply put, don't let anger fester. Okay? Don't hold grudges. When you feel angry, don't act crazy. But at the same time, don't just let the anger sit inside and fester. The thing about anger is this. Anger is a normal human emotion, right? No human emotion in and of itself is bad, right? Emotions are just signs. That's how I see them. Emotions are signs that point to instinctive needs that we have as humans. Okay? Emotions are signs that point to a need, or it points to something else, right? A sign isn't, well, I don't have to explain signs. Well, a sign points to something else, right? So when you feel an emotion, it's a sign. Here's the thing. Although emotions are real, when you do not understand emotions, you will often misinterpret them, and then you will react to them in a way that causes disconnection as opposed to connection. Okay? Imagine driving a car. You're driving down the road and you see a red sign that says stop. You see the sign and you determine that it means you should stop, so you slam on your brakes. Or you pull up to the stop sign and you just sit there because the sign didn't say stop for a few seconds and then go, right? If this happened, you would be reading the sign correctly, but misinterpreting the meaning, right? And that's what we do with a lot of things, especially anger. We misinterpret the meaning of it, and so then our response to it is all out of whack. So just remember, emotions, whether they feel good or not, are just signs. And there are signs that are triggered by your legitimate needs. You have legitimate needs. You don't want to try to get them met in illegitimate ways, right? Those signs are pointing you to a need that is unmet, or maybe it's pointing to a need that is being met, like when you're happy or feeling secure, right? Now, write this down. Anger is triggered by the belief that you have been wronged or treated unfairly. Okay. Now, this does not mean that you have been treated wrong or unfairly. It's simply triggered by that belief. You have the belief, and that emotion is triggered. So if your first response to the trigger is to examine yourself first to see if it's true. Right? Examine what happened to you and think about what it is that you need or think about what need you have, or what is it that you need that you don't have, right? But tonight I want to make sure that so that's the part about the unresolved anger. But I want to focus on the response. So for tonight, let's assume that you were wronged in some kind of way, right? Because sometimes, like I say, you can have the belief that you were wronged and you weren't. But tonight for this talk, we're going to assume that somebody did do something. Like, you have a right to be angry, right? But how then do we respond to the emotion? Okay. Now, before we dive deep into how to respond to anger, let's talk about what makes us angry in the first place, right? If you're going to respond to anger better, then you need to know what your buttons are, right? You got to know what your buttons are. We spend too much time wishing people would stop pushing our buttons instead of deactivating the buttons so that they don't work. I tell people that all the time. I know they know how to push your buttons, but if you would do the inner work to deactivate the buttons, they won't work. And so then when they wrong you, you can respond to them in a loving way, because that's just normal human relationships. If you're married to a flawed, broken person, and so is your spouse. That by itself is going to produce the atmosphere and opportunity for anger. But you got to know how to respond to it. So let's talk about these now. So now this part we're going to kind of do on the fly, because I pretty much am done with my notes. I had a lot more in my head, but I didn't get to put it in my finishing notes. But some things that trigger us, or that get us angry. For men, probably the number one is disrespect. Okay. How do you respond to disrespect? I'm writing it down, so when I come Friday, I can follow back up with these. And I'm gonna go way more in depth with it. But disrespect. Now, the person being disrespected defines what disrespect is. So then that means if someone disrespects you, or someone is trying to disrespect you, it doesn't get in unless you allow it. Now, a portion of whether or not I'm going to allow it to get in is connected to what we talked about last week and your emotional maturity. So you got to grow to a place where the things that folk do don't really affect you. Why? Because that's their issue. I was telling my daughter on last week, don't allow people to determine who you're going to be. She sometimes allow people to push her buttons, and when she's angry, like, they get it. But I'm like, if you want to be a respectful person, if you want to be a loving person, be that regardless of what the other person is doing, because the other person, whatever they're doing, that is their issue. That's not your issue. But the only way to get there is for us to mature emotionally. When you need something from somebody, that's another thing that triggers us and makes us upset. When I say need something, let's say something like, when you need your spouse to say, you're a good husband. I'd like for my wife to say that I'm a good husband. I'd like her admiration. I'd like for her to be just all into me. But that's different than it being a need. See, when you need something and your spouse or whoever doesn't give it to you, it's a real different reaction than you don't need it, you just want it, but you don't get it. It's like, it's cool. It's like going to, so last night we went to, after this wedding, we went to Pappasito's, right? When I go to Pappasito's, I order enchiladas, 2 beef enchiladas, and that's all I want. I don't want the beans and I don't want the rice. 2 beef enchiladas with a lot of cheese, like a lot of cheese. But I told the guy, I don't want the queso cheese. The regular cheese that it comes on there, just put more of that, because at various times they give you all these different kind of cheeses. I'm like, that ain't even how you make it. Why would you do that? So anyway, I told him to, make it how it's going to be. He brings my plate. It does have extra cheese, but it also has this white cheese on top. I didn't ask for that. But I did not go off on the guy. I didn't I ate it. Did I just freeze? I froze on my screen. Anyway, I ate the enchiladas. I didn't complain about it, but you know why I didn't? Well, number one, because I've grown, right? But for this example, I didn't need that to be exactly right. Here's what I mean by that. I had just eaten I just ate at the reception. So I wasn't hungry, right? I didn't need this to meet a need that I have. So if they don't get it right, I'm upset because now the need still can't get met. I was satisfied. I went because I wanted to take my wife out. And so I got something to eat. So I'm like, man, it's all good. I ate half of it, brought the rest of it home. My point is this, and I hope the point got across. When you need something from your spouse, it's different than you wanting, something from your spouse. When you need, you're going to respond differently. Another example I always give is when, like if I loan you money and you say you're going to pay me back on a certain day, when that day comes, you don't have it. My response to you is going to be one way if I was waiting on the money you owe me to pay my rent, and now I can't pay my rent because you didn't give it to me. It's my money. I needed it because I haven't taken care of my business. And so now when you don't give me what I owe, I'm mad at you. I'm cursing you out and doing whatever. That's one response. Another response is you don't give me the money back. But because I've already paid my rent, I don't need that money to pay the rent. It's just a matter of now you being trifling. And I'm just like, oh man, that sucks. I'm not going to loan you money anymore, but it's okay. Just pay me when you can. That response can't happen if it's a need. I hope I made the point clear. Okay. So, disrespect when you need something from your spouse or someone that you're not getting. Right now I'm just talking about what triggers anger. We hadn't started talking about how to respond to it yet. Here's another one. Jealousy. Now, let me tell you about jealousy. Jealousy has gotten a bad rap. Jealousy in and of itself is not bad. It's just an emotion. If you are if you're a husband and you see your wife talking to another guy, right? And you can tell that it's not just friendly conversation. You have a right to be jealous. That somebody is encroaching on you, what's yours. You have a right to be jealous. The Bible says that God is jealous. See, when we hear jealous, though, I'm not talking about this petty, insecure, I'm gonna bust your windows out because you got a new girlfriend kind of jealous. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you can't give someone else what's rightfully mine, right? That happens. That can cause us to get angry. When people don't see things our way, can trigger you to be angry. Now, the thing about it, I could go through a long list, but most of these would have the same root, which is emotional maturity and the belief that I'm not good enough. That's where it would stem from. Okay. So, the responding to the anger part, what time is it? Good. The responding to the anger part, I do have some notes on that, but I really want to save that to Friday and do it all at one time. Right. But listen to this. Where'd my, well, listen to this. This is another, in that same Ephesians that I read earlier. This is what this says. It says, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. So, even though I'm not going to talk about how to respond tonight because I want to have more, I want to get myself together, I do want to talk about the why. Can I talk about the why? The how Friday, the why tonight. Listen again. Always be humble and gentle. That's where my title came from. Be humble, sit down. Yeah. Always be humble and gentle. Now, when you think about a man being gentle, most of us, we can easily be gentle with our children. Well, let me change that. We can easily be gentle with our daughters, the little girls. We can easily be gentle with our sons up until a certain age, usually around 5 or 6. But this text is saying be humble and gentle. It doesn't give parameters after that. You can be a man, full-fledged man. When I say full-fledged, as if you can be half man, you get what I'm saying. You can be a manly man. You can be fully masculine, whatever. You can be as hard as you want to be, but you can still be gentle. Being gentle has nothing to do with being weak. We men are so sensitive about being called weak. I know, I was going to say I used to be. I'm trying to think if I still am. At a certain level, I've done work, but I'm not fully there. Right? I grew up in the same society y'all did. We don't like being called weak. And the reason, so that's I could put that down. That's a trigger too. That's a specific man trigger. Being seen, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. Being seen as weak. And that speaks to emotional maturity as well. I'm going to go back to what I was saying, but that speaks to emotional maturity as well, because just because you think I'm weak, if I know I'm not weak, I'm not going to be bothered about what you think. I may want to know why you think that and what. Like, if you say, you know what, you're not a black man, I'm not going to be offended by that. I'm going to think you got an issue. Why? Because I know that I am. I'm confident in that. But when you say something about me that I'm not confident in, then that's when we get angry, right? It's an emotional reaction. So always be humble and gentle. And then this part, be patient with each other. I can't tell you. When I graduated high school, I go through my 20s, my 30s, get to 40. Now in this marriage, nobody ever told me, but if they had told me, I don't know if I would have believed the extreme importance of patience when it comes to marriage and parenting too. Patience is crucial. Patience is crucial. And here's the thing. The way that life grows your patience is by making you wait and be patient. So when life presents you with opportunities to be patient, take it. Don't just get upset, because you're going to have to get the lesson, but you don't want to spend forever on first base trying to learn how to be patient, because you keep getting presented with opportunities to be patient, but then you keep being upset. So it says, be patient with each other, make an allowance for each other's faults. I just told you, you're married to an imperfect spouse. Your friends, if you're not married, your friends are imperfect. You are imperfect. Be patient with your friends and your family and your friends. Make allowances for their faults. What does that mean? Expect them to not get it right. As a matter of fact, expect them to get it wrong often. You get it wrong often. You just so arrogant and blind that you can't see how often you get it wrong. But be patient. Make allowance for their faults. Now, why would you do that? It's right in the same, because of your love. And so if I heard somebody say reverse engineer, I don't think that fits here. But if I go backwards, because of how you love people, you should make allowances for their faults with your patience. Be gentle and humble. Be humble. Sit down. I like that. I don't really like the song. I just like the hook, actually. It's my daughter's music. But that is what I have for you guys tonight. And because I am committed to giving you the most helpful information, that's the only reason I'm breaking this up. Because I didn't just want to come in here and just give you this and just kind of or just go off the top of my head. Even though I have the information, it's going to be my thoughts. I want it to flow, Besides, if I didn't do that, my wife would be like, baby, you was all off topic, because when I just go from my mind off of my notes, I ain't no telling where we're going to end up or what I'm going to say. So, but this does allow for us to have a good portion of time for Q&A if you have any. But please, I beg you, come back Friday, because you need to know how to respond to your anger. You need to know you got to master yourself. You got to know how, not just how to respond to anger, but you got to know how to decipher when your anger is telling you the truth or when it's not accurate. Because again, not everything that makes you angry is a real problem. Some of it is just you and your interpretation of what's going on. So I want to help you with all of that. And I'm so looking forward to it. And the self-control piece, part of you cannot respond to your anger in a healthy way without self-control. We try to major in other controlling other folk. No, control you. Don't try to control your cousin, your friend, your wife. Control you. You're not responsible for what people do to you. You're not, but you're 100% responsible for what you do to others and how you respond to what they do to you. I'm trying to break the, I guess, myth or mold or whatever you want to call it that says if someone confronts a man or if someone offends a man or if someone does you wrong, you got to give them the business. You don't. And watch this. When you do, it hurts you more than it hurts them. Why do I say that? Because you have to carry the toxicity that you just spewed out. You didn't get it all out. It's still in there. And you take that with you. But I want to encourage you to grow, to develop into a mature man, to where when you're angry, you don't have all of these random triggers, but you can respond to your anger in a healthy way. And you can have a conversation in love, and you can establish boundaries. You don't let people run over you, no, but at the same time, you don't harm people just because they harmed you or tried to harm you. Okay? All right. So you guys have any questions for me? Okay, here we go. Comments. Oh, okay, the comments came up, but see, I figured that out without even looking. Thanks. Can y'all see that? Thanks, Derek. Oh, my loss. Yeah, I was dealing with that. I think I could put this down here. I was dealing with that this weekend, losing my dad. It was something. Okay, so it doesn't go away? Wait a minute. Comments went away. Now I don't. Here's one. Does anger, let's see. Does anger mean suppressing your feeling for that moment because you don't, okay, move on. Okay, wow. Y'all learning with me. Give me a second. I'm trying to rearrange my screen. How about we put this on that screen over there? Give me a second. I'm going to ask you a question. Put that on that screen over there. Move this over here and then put that right there. All right. Now, does anger mean suppressing your feeling for that moment because you don't want to hurt your spouse by saying the truth? That's not anger. That is, so that is a way, I guess, how you're responding to your anger, because you don't want to hurt your spouse. So let me share this with you. You don't hold back the truth because you may hurt someone. Life hurts sometimes, right? If what you have to say is hurtful, and there's no other way to say it, right? It's in love, but it's hurtful. Then all you can do is make it as gentle as possible, but you don't change the truth because someone's going to be hurt by it. Now watch this. Hurt and harm are not the same things. Okay? You may hurt your wife, but you can't harm your wife. How would you harm her? you can speak the truth not in love, right? That's harm. Calling her names or judging her or saying what you like. You got to be careful with harming her, but you don't stifle the truth because you don't want to hurt somebody, right? Like you guys see me do this. I know a lot of people don't believe that Jesus is Lord. I'm good with that. You don't have to, but it's not going to stop me from saying it because I believe it's true. And if it like someone's going, oh, I'm offended and I'm hurt, you know, I don't know what to tell you. But you can't change. You can't stifle the truth because of someone else. That's called people pleasing. That's a version of people pleasing. But now let me deal with the first part of your question though. Suppressing your feelings. Let me see. What does this do? Okay. Suppressing your feelings is not something. I don't like that word suppress it. So maybe you're saying, hold your tongue for a little while until the situation is better. So whatever you can, make sure you use right timing, but don't not speak the truth ever because of how they're gonna, you don't want to do that. That's not, don't do that. So, okay, let's see what else. Now, how can I get this one off? Oh, okay, I did it. Let's see what this one says. Great insight when you make allowance for others' faults because of the love. Yeah. Do you mean make allowances when you're being provoked? So here's what I mean by make allowances, or here's what the Bible means by make allowances. Understand that they're not perfect. That's what make allowance means. Give them grace, right? When you're being provoked. So, and the thing about it, I need to put that on there because a lot of wives and women will provoke their man because they're trying to get a reaction out of him, and that's some foolishness. But it does happen. So I'm putting that on how to. But no, you don't make allowances because you're being provoked. But when you are provoked, you recognize she got something going on. Now, the things that I share with you, particularly around this subject, they're not easy to implement, and they don't necessarily feel like they don't fit you like a nice coat or something. Like it's kind of uncomfortable. But it's a new, and I shouldn't say new, it's new for you, but it's a better way of doing relationships. Okay? So even when someone is provoking you, are they full of love? If someone is provoking you, are they in a good space? No, something is going on with her. And so when you are full of love, it will allow you to, I call it block. You can block that provoking that she's trying to do and go in and see, hey, what's going on with you? What's the reason that you're trying to provoke me? Or what's the reason you're upset? Or whatever the case. But making allowance for their faults is simply recognizing they're not God. They are imperfect, and you mess up too. So you don't bring the hammer down on them because you don't want them or God. Let's use God bringing the hammer down on you. All right. So that's what that means. I hope I answered your question. Let's see. Oh, that's it. I only had 2 questions. Why y'all made me think I had a lot of questions? Y'all waiting for Friday? I'm telling you, please come back Friday. Come back Friday, and I'm gonna be working this week on next week already. So I'm, because I don't want to. This is not gonna be a habit. But then, also too, some of this we will take over to the men's group that I'm gonna start, and we'll talk about some of this stuff like in person, because these lives that I do, I believe my hope is that they're really, really helpful. But at the same time, interacting with other men and seeing how they work out life and how they do marriage and how they handle this problem, iron does sharpen iron. And you if you want to be a better man, there's no excuse for you not to be. Do not settle Do not settle for mediocrity. Why would you do that? Whatever you've been through in your childhood, this is random. I just thought of this because of a client I had today. Whatever you've been through in your childhood that has helped you get to the place where you are, meaning the dysfunctional place, you don't have to buy into that's my story and that's how it has to be. You don't have to do that. When you say, well, that's just me, or that's just how I am, you've cut off the possibility of change because you've accepted the fact that, well, I guess this is all I got. It's not. I was going to say your skin color, but Michael Jackson proved that ain't true either. Let's see. What night will the men's group be? I have not. I haven't because it'll probably be, I don't know what COVID's going to do, honestly. So I don't know if it'll be in person or if it'll be virtual or if it'll be a mixture. I really don't want to. I could do virtual if we did like Zoom. That way we could see the men and women not, allowed. But I really would rather do face to face. So it would depend on like a consensus of the group, the best day. More than likely on a Saturday. I'm thinking like a Saturday morning, like having like breakfast, or we can like I don't know, just different things. We might meet at a bar, and like hang out and talk. If it ain't too loud, just different things. I'm still working it out, right? Because on one hand, I know the value of men interacting with men and just kind of like just being able to be free and transparent. But then on the other side, I still want the therapeutic part where we're growing to be better men and not just hanging out for fun. You got homeboys for that, I'm sure. Let's see. Can you speak to what happens when you suppress anger? When you suppress angry verbal attacks against you, while in those moments you're trying to communicate respectfully over the years. So what happens when you suppress? So like if you're being attacked verbally, you're suppressing it. So I would leave. I'm not saying separate. I'm saying if we're talking and you are just verbally attacking, I'm gonna go to the corner store. I'm not just gonna sit there. At least that's what I hope I would do. Why? Because here's why. Well, part of it is because of what I said earlier, as far as the what does it say? The be patient, be humble, be gentle, make an allowance for others because of your love. So that's one part. But the other part is this, and I'm speaking like if it's my wife, it's my wife, it's my marriage. If I don't leave, it ain't gonna work out well because you're being so disrespectful and we can't talk. So I'm gonna leave so both of us not acting ignorant. And when I come back, we can talk later. Yes, my feelings may be hurt down, but I want to stay full of love so that we can engage. And I'm putting up a boundary to say, hey, you can't talk to me like that. I'm a human, not just a man, a human. You can't talk to me like that. So, my question would be, though, what makes a spouse verbally attack you so often? Because after all this time, there's been no growth in how you handle conflict. Here's what I would ask in a peacetime. Babe, when you talk to me like that, what is your intent? Are you thinking that's going to make us better? Are you thinking that's going to encourage me to do what you're complaining about? Or you think that's going to build me up as a man so I could be a better husband and father? It's not. So I don't even understand what the goal is. Well, I understand there's not a goal, but why are you doing it then? Right? So be careful with that. In those moments, and so you can't. The Bible talks about communicating with a fool. If a wise man get into a fight with a fool, you don't know which one's the fool. So stop trying to talk over foolishness. Just stop talking. But then when they say, well, why are you not talking? Well, because I want to have an adult conversation. And what you're doing is not adult. Now, obviously, this is a general answer, right? I can't give specifics without specifics, but in general, that's what I would say. Don't hold your tongue. You shouldn't have to walk on eggshells. If you have to walk on eggshells, you have the issue, not them. Why? Because you were a free human. Slavery is over. Nobody can make you do anything. So if you're choosing to walk on eggshells, that has something to do with you, your emotional maturity, and how you handle conflict or whatever the case. Unless you are physically in danger, like, if you don't hold your tongue, they're going to, kill you or beat you up or something. But outside of that, walking on eggshells, every human has the right and the need to express themselves. You guys probably just need better conflict resolution skills. That's what you need. You need better conflict resolution skills. And I'm revamping my conflict resolution course because I did that course and I launched it, and it's good stuff. But I realized in hindsight, I need a lot more in there to help people. But of course, me add more stuff is going to raise the price. Right now, it's only $69. But I'm going to add more stuff to help you be able to do conflict more and restore unity in your relationships with your wife. So let's see. So Gino says, so when you're angered and you don't want to get into a heated battle, what would be a good way to calm your emotions before shouting out instead of keeping it all in like I'm used to? That's a good question. That's an excellent question. So when you're angered, but you don't want to get into a heated battle, first of all, so this is what I'm talking about, becoming a master of self. You want to, first of all, understand, why are you angry? But not just, well, I'm angry because, she bought all the toilet paper. No. What's going on? What does her buying the toilet paper mean to you? Well, it means she don't respect me as a man. Okay, here we go. So you want to figure out, is the toilet paper and respect really connected? Like, if she bought this toilet paper and you asked her not to, is it really disrespect? Or is it her just doing what she wanted to do because she wasn't thinking about that? Or did she think, well, I don't care? Like, and I'm giving an example of how you process yourself. I know you're not, dealing with toilet paper. But the point is, you want to understand what actually about this whole situation process is making you angry. Why do you want to do that? Because, again, it's a sign. You want to make sure you address the right thing. If you misinterpret the sign, you may say something that don't fit. So after that, after you decide, why you're angry, you want to, how do I cool off? Well, I'm not a big fan of these, count to 10 and all of these, they work if you feel like you've gone too far too fast and you need to cool off. Yeah, separate yourself, leave. But just because you feel angry doesn't mean you need a break, right? Examine yourself to see if what you want to say or do is rooted in pride or is it rooted in love? I'm not going there. Is it rooted in pride or is it rooted in love? Okay. You want to say something, but so love is not about you. Love is about the person you're loving, but pride is about you. Okay. Pride is about my needs, my wants, my hurts, my desires. You can't walk in love and pride at the same time. So when you want to respond to your wife, because she's coming at you sideways, what's the real reason you want to respond? Because let me read this for you. Here's what I try to tell people about responding to their spouse when their spouse is way far out of line. Okay, let's see how quickly I can find it without being online. But you want to, here it is. This is what it says. I need my glasses. Isn't it crazy that I have contacts on, but I can't see close up with the contacts on. And I can't see far away with context off. It's crazy. Here's what it says. It says, dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, dear brothers and sisters, if your wife, no, not dear brothers and sisters, dear brothers, that's you guys. If your wife, I'm reinterpreting for you. If your wife is coming at you sideways with a lot of crazy talk, you who are godly should gently, here's that word gently again. And wait a minute. I just not realized, I wasn't planning on reading this, but I just realized he said the same thing. This is a whole different book. So I'm going to just read it. It says, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back on the right path. But be careful that you don't fall into the same temptation yourself. So what is that saying? It's saying when your spouse is doing wrong, then you, and they're doing wrong towards you, this is the work of marriage. Folk would rather go to a divorce court than do this because it's hard work. But she's coming at you sideways. So instead of you going back at her, you put on your love suit and you go in to try to help her and find out what her need is, what the issue is. What's the reason you're talking to your husband that way? I want to help. I'm not here to hurt. I'm not here to judge. I want to help you treat your husband better. The only way you're going to get there is taking, so imagine a giant wall of shelves full of different offenses. The only way you're going to get to where I just talked about is taking stuff off the offense shelf. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be offended by that. I'm not going to be offended by that. And you just begin to like be less and less offended. And I'm not saying this, trust me, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm way far from where I need to be. But I've grown to the place to where when my wife gets upset about something, I don't automatically get upset. Even if she is upset with me, even if she has something wrong, I'm like, man, I just don't take it personal, because here's the thing, you can't get upset with something that you don't take personal. So what is it about your wife, Gino, still on your question, what is it about whatever she's doing that's making you feel like it's about you? Because we don't get upset about stuff that's not about us. So did I let me see, when you're angered, like I'm used to, did I answer that question for you? Examine yourself to see what you're really angry about. Take a break if you need it. Have a more loving mindset to where, yes, she's coming at me sideways, but I love her, so I can't hurt her, right? In preseason football, they always, they show the preseason stuff and like teammates be fighting. How y'all fighting? Y'all on the same team. Okay, fine. If the quarterback get into a fight with the running back, the running back may whoop him, but here's what the running back's not going to do. The running back's not going to, so he might punch him in the mouth, but he's not going to take his arm and twist it behind his back. Why? Because if I do that, that's below the belt. That's going to hurt the whole team. Like, we got an issue. We got to resolve it. We got to get with it. Right? And I'm not promoting domestic violence. But I think you know that. Yeah. But he's not going to twist his arm behind his back. And the point that I'm making is this. In the midst of your fights, don't hit below the belt. It's your spouse. It's your wife. When it's all over, who going to have to repair that? Who going to have to love her? Who going to have to be in a relationship with her? You. So sometimes you may have to hold it in until tomorrow because you're too angry to get it out. But you gotta process it, right? You can't just let it fester like I used to do. And then when it's time to talk, bleh, demon vomit. You don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Let's see. But there's too much commenting of bringing the spouse back on track. Problem, current topic due to anger, heat, and it's so easy to lose control. I don't know if I understand what you're saying, Aaron, but I'm going to try to read it again. There is too much commenting of bringing back the spouse on track. Okay. Bringing the problem back on track. I'm thinking. Current topic. Okay. Due to anger. And it's so easy to lose cool. I think you're saying, so I think what you're saying is, I don't know if you're talking about commenting on here, but basically, I'm saying, come back on track. Below the comments, Bill. Okay, but coming back on track. Are you saying like the conversation is going all over the place and you're trying to bring it back, but then it's hard to do that because it's easy to lose your cool? No, I don't. Let me just deal with the last part. It's easy to lose the cool. I don't think so. It is. So I agree. When you first start, but as you grow, because, I'm not. I'm not a robot. I'm not like some kind of. I'm a regular human, and my growth to the place to where I can stay cool. Now, again, because I am a regular human, I still can like get triggered and be, okay, you want it, I'm gonna give it to you. But so here's because it's a growth process. So if we start, you start here, right? I'm offended, I respond in a bad way, and then as I grow, it gets like this. As far as the frequency or the time or whatever. And now I'm at a place where I can still get there because I'm still human, but it takes a lot. I grew to there because I was committed to not allowing anger to control me. And I was committed to having a healthy marriage. And I could not just depend on her to get better, because your biggest marriage issue, write this down. Your biggest marriage issue is always going to be you, not her. Always. Your biggest marriage issue is you. Now, her biggest marriage issue is her, but yours is you. So, yeah. Starting off is not easy, but you want to work to get to the place to where, man, so Friday's gonna be good. Friday is gonna be good. I'm telling you, because some of these things will be answered and explained when I talk about how to respond, and then I may even talk about why you're responding that way. But ultimately, I promise you, it goes all the way back to emotional maturity. Emotional maturity. You think about the times when you've been interacting with someone and maybe they didn't say or do the same thing that your wife did or said or whatever, but they did something that you really didn't like and you were angry, but you didn't go off on them because it was your boss or your past or someone you really couldn't go off on. You could, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. How did it happen? Because it's a choice and it's not automatic. It's not automatic. We're not robots. You just got to get control of yourself. Self-control. I'm going to talk about all that. Self-control. You have to control yourself. You have to. If you don't control you, nobody else will. And nobody else can. Let's see. What defines below the belt? What defines below the belt is anything that harms the relationship. So the difference between harm and hurt. It's like the difference between being hurt and being injured, right? I always use Kevin Durant because he's my favorite player. And last year before last, when he was injured, he came back early, as if he was just hurt. So he tried to play, then he got injured again. So you can play hurt, you can't play injured. Injury or harm is it. So hurt just takes some pain medicine. Harm takes healing. So below the belt are things that are anti-relationship, criticism, name calling, being defensive. Being defensive is below the belt. Name calling, yelling, that's below the belt. Okay. Why? Because we don't yell at humans unless you're trying to keep them from, getting hit by a car. Humans, it's not an effective way to communicate, whether they're 2 or 92. Right? So below the belt means ultimately disrespect. When you're speaking, because it's not about speaking truth, you got to speak the truth in love. So everything above the belt is rooted in love and respect. Everything below the belt is rooted in disrespect and unloving behavior. Now, if you don't know what love is, or what loving and respectful behavior, that's a different issue, which we can talk about. But ultimately, simply put, as Rick Marx would say, love and respect above the belt, everything else below the belt. Let's see. Below the belt comments versus below the belt comments for women. Oh, so you want to know the difference between the two? Well, it's summed up like that. Because I can tell you specific things that they say, but that's, because of their gender. But ultimately, they're going to fall in the category of being disrespectful and unloving, whatever it is. Let's see. When you're choosing not to be offended, how do you protect yourself from bottling up anger? What question should I ask myself to make sure this isn't happening? Excellent question. So when you are choosing not to be offended. Now, so okay, I'm trying to make sure I answer this carefully. When you're choosing not to be offended, there is no anger. Okay? So when I choose not to be offended, here's what I mean. Somebody calls me the N-word. I'm choosing to determine that they have an issue and that ain't got nothing to do with me. So anger doesn't even show up because of how my belief system in that particular situation, anger doesn't come. So there's nothing to bottle up. Now, I know that's not what you're asking, but I'm just saying, if you choose not to be offended, you're choosing not to be offended, which means anger has nowhere to grow. However, how do you keep from bottling up anger? So you can, and I think this may be what you're asking. Just because you don't say something, like you think you're extending grace, and you're not complaining about everything that happens. So I'm gonna let that go. The way you know whether or not you let it go is if some time later it's still on your mind. That means you didn't let it go, and that may mean that it's a big enough issue where you need to address it. Okay, some things you just let it go. Man, she ain't even cooked tonight, but I'm gonna let it go. And so you let it go. But then if, a week goes by and you're still thinking about the fact that she didn't cook last week, that's a sign to you, not that you're petty, not that something's wrong with you, but it just means that for you, that's an issue and you need to address it with your wife. Don't allow her, she can't determine for you what's important and what's not. She can't. So a lot of times what we'll say is, man, this is not a big enough deal to be tripping over. I'm not going to say anything. But if you can't get over it, you got to deal with it with her in the relationship, right? But the last part, what question should I ask myself to make sure this isn't happening where I'm bottling up anger? That's it. Am I still bothered by it? Like I'm not. So it's one thing to have anger. It's a different thing to respond to it. And I'm going to teach you the healthy way to respond, right? So don't try to not have anger. It's a normal human emotion, but it's how you respond to the anger that gets us in trouble. Anger is not bad, okay? But now bottling up anger means you did something wrong to me, or at least that's what I believe, and I'm not confronting you on it. How do I resolve that? There are some things we can resolve on our own, but then there are some things I need you to say something like, I'm sorry, or, like you can't, like I need something. But that's not all the time, because sometimes you have to forgive and they don't say anything. right? Sometimes we have to forgive people who like molested us and they're dead. Well, they're not going to say anything. You still got to forgive them. Why? Because you're the one that's stuck. So I'm getting off topic, but the point is this. The question you ask yourself to know if you're bottling this up is it still bothering me? If it's still bothering you and you're not speaking on it, then you're bottling up anger. The way to release anger is through forgiveness or resolution. Sometimes both of those happen. Sometimes it's only one, right? Let me know if I answered your question. I think I did, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So is that what you were saying, Aaron? That's what I took from it. But another way, here's another way you can a sign that you may have unresolved anger inside is well, I guess it's the same thing what you said. You can't move past it. You can't get over it. Like, she went to the grocery store. She bought her a banana, but she didn't buy you a peach, and she know you love peaches. But you can't get it out of your head. Now, that may mean that if you can't get that out of your head, this is a good example. So that simple thing, and I'm saying simple, I know that's a label or almost a judgment, but you can't get that out of your head. You do need to talk about it, but it also may be a sign, but it probably is a sign of something deeper. Like, where did you learn that if she don't bring you a peach back, that it's something offensive to you? Like it's she's doing something to you. Was something withheld from you as a kid? Were you neglected from going to the store? You could never have peaches, and they have some kind of significant meaning. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to master yourself. Sometimes you got to sit in the quiet and just think about yourself, think about your behavior, think about your thoughts, right? I think that's called meta thinking. Thinking about your thoughts, thinking about thinking about, why do I respond this way to this? That's how I've done a lot of my growth, honestly. I was telling my wife yesterday, or Saturday, with the dysfunctions of my childhood, how I showed up to adulthood. I have not done extensive amounts of therapy relative to how much growth I've had, particularly after 40. The last 8 years, man, I've grown by leaps and bounds, but a lot of it is really based on new information. Now, it wasn't new information that I got one time. I didn't hear something and then poof, pow, oh, I'm better. No, it still took time. But because I am diligent, this is important. I'm diligent about being my best self. I'm diligent about examining me to see where I'm not being the greatest lover. Because at the end of the day, it's all about love. And sometimes you can't get to that place because you yourself are love deficient. If you're love deficient, anger is like anger having a bedroom. You got a whole master suite inside of you if you're love deficient. So trying to evict anger is going to be extremely difficult. You got to get love back. Love is the one that can evict anger. Yeah. Love is like the constable. Hey, you got to get out. That was probably a terrible example, but you get what I'm saying. Let's see. You guys got anything else? I'm going to go ahead and end tonight. But if you do have more questions, don't not ask them. Just write them down, email me, or wait till Friday because the brother got to go eat. It's been a long day. And I was at the office today. My intent was to do this from the office so you guys can see my new background. But when I had the wedding yesterday, I didn't feel like taking all this equipment over there and then coming back. And I'm like, because I was at the office at 6, so then I had to rush home. I walked in here, it was 6:55. So my wife done cooked something because it smells delicious. But watch this. When I walk out there, she might piss me off. Or try to. But I'm going to block it. I say, babe, what's up? What's going on? You had a rough day? What you need? Random. I don't know why I said that. But anyway, thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Gino. Thank you guys for joining tonight. I am excited about Friday because I think you guys are going to, especially based on these questions, I really think that you are going to enjoy. I don't know if enjoy is the right word. Benefit from what I have to share on Friday. Okay? All right. You guys take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And, oh, I forgot I put that up there. Bring it back over here. And I will talk to you guys on Friday.